Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Jonathan Rado album, Law and Order. Jonathan Rado, singer-songwriter who you might know from the singing-songwriting duo Foxygen, who came out with two great full-length projects recently, a reissue of the album Take the Kids Off Broadway on Jaguar Records, and earlier this year, We Are the 21st Century Ambassadors of Peace and Magic, which was on the same label. And what I enjoyed so much about these records, especially Take the Kids Off Broadway, is that John and Sam were able to take all of these elements of 60s psychedelic pop and rock, classic rock, and just sort of mash them together in this really jarring way, but on top of just sort of being masters of manipulating a lot of these old vintage retro rock and pop sounds. Sam and John, I thought, were really good songwriters, wrote great choruses, delivered great lyrics, and had a lot of passion coming through on the vocals too. So of course, when I heard that this thing was coming out, I was really excited to hear John's talents portrayed in a solo capacity, but was somewhat shocked to hear this album fall very short of my expectations. Usually I'm not the kind of person that goes into solo efforts expecting to be completely blown away anyway, because no matter how great the original band may be, as soon as an artist is out of their element, really anything goes. And I feel like Law and Order is a testament to that fact. To start with the performances, the singing is really lackluster on a lot of these songs. Either it's not that passionate or captivating, or I hear John straining in his upper register a lot on these songs, making him kind of unlistenable. There are songs on here like Hand in Mine, which essentially feel like a bad Adam Green impersonation. And then there are tracks such as Looking for a Girl Like You, where we are privy to this horrible falsetto, which is just ear-piercingly, it hurts. It literally hurts to listen to. Partially it's because the falsetto is not performed all that well, plus there's a heap of distortion on this thing, making it pretty unintelligible, and on top of that, it's not really mixed or EQ'd all that well either. It's really enough to make you want an instrumental track, of which there are a few on here, like the song Dance Away Your Ego, which essentially is just some throwaway cheesy organ rock that I'm never going to remember. And truth is, I kind of want to forget it because of how many mistakes are going on in the playing on this track. It's like the drums and the guitars aren't even in sync some of the time. It's just kind of a little old school pop rock groove that John can't seem to pull together instrumentally. I think the closest that John comes to delivering a decent song is the track Faces. The melody, especially through the guitar leads, is really sharp, it's catchy, but honestly, stylistically, the song doesn't have all that much personality to it. It's not that distinct. It's steeped a little bit too much in that whole BRIT pop mod rock tradition to be memorable on its own accord. And this is surprising to me because John, through Foxygen, has a history of taking these sounds and doing something crazy, over the top, and eccentric with them. But here on this album, we see John treating these sounds. He's not even really treating them, he's just kind of copying them in this really unflattering way. If the production and the singing and the songwriting were up to snuff, that would be one thing, but man, even as kind of a nostalgic trip back, this album does not work. Unfortunately, Jonathan Rado on Law and Order, when he is not delivering some bad performances or some weak singing, he is just indulging in some generic songwriting that has some very middle-of-the-road retro rock and pop sounds. With the exception of the track Pot of Gold, which is a pretty nice drum machine back piece of synth pop, and I Wanna Feel It, which is like this distorted, fuzzed out psych rock nightmare that reminds me of something Ty Segall would do. Seagal? I will never know. Occasionally there is a decent tune on here, and Jonathan does do a good job of capturing these retro sounds and vibes, but I still think a majority of this thing is pretty unlistenable. I'm feeling a light 4 on this album. Transition. If you've given this John Rado album a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's about it. Only the strong subscribe. All mistakes were intentional. Anthony Fantano, Jonathan Rado, Law and Order, forever.